What's going on, everybody? TG here, back with another video. Hope you guys had a great Christmas break with your friends, families, and loved ones. This video is all about Apple and their potential impact that they can leave on the other EV players in the game, such as Tesla. Before we start, hit that like and subscribe button, and let's jump right in. So, as you obviously know, Tesla is the biggest in the EV business, and Apple is the biggest in their electronic iPhone and app services business. We have two GOATs right now competing for one market. Now, obviously, the market is big enough to have multiple players in that. That's true. But when you look at a company like Tesla, the only big EV player in the game right now, the only one you really see making cars that people are actually driving already, not just in production, but already out, having sales in the US, having sales overseas. And then you have someone like Apple, that is obviously the biggest company in the entire world, biggest market cap, over $2.25 trillion dollars in market cap. And you have these two companies now kind of facing off for a sector. Okay, so Apple usually is always the best in their sector. Okay, so they're the best in the iPhones, like all phones. iPhone's obviously the most superior and advanced phone there is, and obviously has the best sales. You have the App Store services. Nothing can compete with that. It's better than Google's, Microsoft's, all those other app services. You have the wearables, the AirPods, the iWatch, the laptops. They're the best in that as well. Okay, we have Tesla, best in the EV space. Okay, when people think of EV companies, they think of Tesla. And Tesla for the right reason. It's the most established one. It has profits. That's one of the big reasons it stands out of all other EV companies. It's profitable now. It's actually making money and is making a decent amount of revenue quarter by quarter. Big year-over-year growth as well. The question is, though, how much can Apple actually impact Tesla? Now, an article came out yesterday talking about that the market is actually too bullish on Apple's car launch and that it's actually going to be pushed back until about 2025, which is the earliest possible announcement. Now, that's 5 years away, 4.5, 5 years away. A lot can happen by then. The market is slowly transitioning into these EV players, okay? And who's ever there first is sometimes in the best position. Now, Apple could have a superior car. We don't know that. But it all matters on who's there first, pole position, okay? If people are already used to one thing, they're not going to all of a sudden just switch to another one, especially that far down the road. Luckily, 2025 is not too bad, but when they talk about 2028 or later, that's a long time. That's almost a decade away. We've seen how much has changed in the past decade for us, as my generation has seen. So much has happened in the past 8 years. Tesla was barely even a company 8 years ago. There's like Snapchat gets announced, Instagram, like a lot of these giant companies happened in 8 years. So pushing a car back that long, we don't know if this is confirmed. This is by one analyst, Kyo, basically saying that Apple is basically shot back a lot because of this. Now, my personal thoughts, I think Apple is going to be very strong. I think whatever they do, they know what they're doing. They have a solid grounds, they have solid technology, and they're going to do well. And I think it'll definitely eat at market share of Tesla. I'm not going to deny that. I think it's pretty obvious when you have a big player in the game such as Apple, come in with a EV play, it's going to take a lot out of the market share of one of the other big players because they're going to be competing against each other. Okay? And if Tesla doesn't drop their prices or, do something to stand out more, they're going to suffer because of it. Now, one of the big advantages that Apple has over Tesla is Apple has streams of revenue all over the place. Okay, we look at their last quarter, $12.6 billion in profit. They have $38 billion cash on hand. They can spend the money to really innovate and renovate and all this stuff like that. And, with a P ratio of only 40, the company is still, it's not considered super overvalued or anything. Whereas you go ahead and look at Tesla, they got about 14 billion cash on hand, which is very, very good for a car company. They just did dilution, which is very smart of them. But they have a giant market cap already and a P ratio of over 1,300. So the room to grow for Tesla is not high anymore, okay? The days of it, tripling and doubling it's not going to happen probably for a very, very long time. I mean, we talk about a triple, and the stock is now bigger than Amazon, and it's somehow the second biggest company in the world, and it doesn't even make $1 billion a quarter, or maybe even $1 billion a year. So it's going to be hard to tell which is going to be the most successful for the EV players. I think Tesla will still be the most successful EV player out there, but I don't see it running as big as we think it is. And I think that companies like Apple can really take a big profit share of market share out of Tesla. And Now, obviously, Tesla's established itself as the GOAT for EV players in the game, and everyone knows about it. But Apple obviously can come out with their own, and especially if people are talking about with how good their technology is, especially hiring someone from NIO to work with Tesla, that always helps. NIO's a very established EV player in China. Having that in their background, having a plethora of cash on hand, basically unlimited resources and technology and manpower to make a car. If they go ahead and make a car and make it cheaper than Tesla and just as good, I think you're going to see a big chunk of Tesla share just cut off right there. And then you talk about scalability, and then people talking evaluations, and a couple of years down the road, if you can't justify a P ratio of this big anymore if they're not bringing in the profits. So it's going to be interesting to see. I personally think that Apple is very smart by doing this, by getting their foot in another door, another sector where they can really take over, where there is a lot of money on the line, as we've seen with these players. I mean, we talk about Tesla. Look at this. I mean, they're worth $630 billion, and they don't even make $1 billion a year. So it's obviously a very lucrative industry, and that right there, the spec of this can really drive Apple's stock up. The prospects of it can really drive the stock up. And then the actual delivery itself of this vehicle, and people who are already extremely loyal to Apple. You look at Apple users, their turnover rate is extremely low. People are not switching over to Sony or Microsoft products. They're sticking with Apple products. And that could be the same when it comes to cars as well, especially if they make it very efficient and cheap compared to other EV companies out there. I think you could see a very aggressive market for that, and you're going to see a lot of people going over towards it. So my thoughts on this, I personally think that Apple is going to do solid. I don't think they're going to destroy Tesla. I think Tesla's going to be here to stay. But I don't think Tesla's going to be as big as we think it is, especially with all this other competition. Competition is going to drive their profits down because they're going to have to, whatever you call it, compensate for that. And if they don't, they're going to be left behind and no one's going to buy it. And that's the problem. Also, these vehicles last a lot longer than traditional vehicles. So normally having to buy a car every 7 years, with Tesla, you're going to buy a car every 10 years. That's 3 extra years where they're not getting new revenue for cars. But they are a technology company, so it's obviously innovating with that, and they do have a subscription base that they're coming out with as well, which is also big for the company. But I think this could definitely make a negative impact on Tesla short term or long term speaking, especially when this product comes out. But if they're as delayed as they say it is, then Tesla has a couple more years of being the GOAT and in charge, and I think they're always going to be the GOAT when it comes to the EV plays. But Apple can definitely take away a big chunk of market share. So how big? We'll have to see when that actually comes out and we get some numbers on these cars, especially from Apple. But anyways, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this. This is big news, and this is a big increase in the EV space, obviously with another big player in town, the biggest of the biggest. So let's see what happens, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you guys Monday. Bye, guys.